Hi, I'm Fisher Davo and I'm here with Kaz from Ocean's Legacy. In this video, Kaz presents a seminar on jigging for bluefin.
We cover the concept of bluefin jigging, the reason why we do it at night time rather than daytime, essential gear, jig selection, basic techniques, and a few tips.
We want to thank Fish Eat Repeat for attending the seminar and recording this video for us. So let's get straight into it.
My name is Kaz from Ocean's Legacy. We supply rods, jigs, lures and hooks terminals, and we try to do more sort of seminars and workshops around all sorts of lure fishing, jigging, casting. That's our banner. So as you can see, what we have been promoting most is slow pitch jigging. And then from there, we are kind of branching out, expanding more sort of solutions. And the bluefin jigging is something that we have done a lot, and we did really well last season. And hopefully we can share our experience and the knowledge with you guys tonight. And thank you, Jason, for hosting us tonight.
Thanks for coming, mate.
Just a bit of me. I'm from Japan originally. In terms of sort of fishing background, I've done 35 years of lure fishing, 15 years in Japan, mainly is freshwater, and 20 years in New Zealand, saltwater. Okay. So just to kick off, I'm going to play a video. Can you guys see what's going on here? That's me last year at Waihau. Lots of circles, yeah? Lots of circles. In a straight line, there was like 5 nautical miles, and we had so many circles in between. And that took us almost 5 hours, from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m., and I'm still on the rod. I had to use a rope and just hold myself. After 5 hours, we still lost a fish. That was a huge one. We saw the fish, and in the first 15 minutes, we thought that was only 50 kilo or something. And I saw the size, it was like literally longer than the length of the gunnel. And then I made a big run from there because we were just mucking around. And then it took us 5 hours before I said, hey, I'm done. You know, I can't do this. Because the orca started chasing it. And we got the fish almost to the surface, 20 meters go. And then orca started chasing and it went back down to 300 meter. The tuna didn't lose any energy. It was still full on. Boom. So I gave it to another guy next to me, this guy, and then he started pumping too much, and the reel came off the reel seat, hit the gunnel, and that was the end of it. So we couldn't land the fish, but that was a pretty experience. Like, I couldn't move the fish, pretty heavy, so it could be northern, but who knows. So that would kind of give you an idea of what we are up against. We're not talking about kingfish, we're talking about bluefin. What do you call it? The king of pelagic. So it could be 20 kilo, but you could be fighting 200 kilo or plus. So that's what we're going to cover tonight. Why nighttime jigging works, essential gear, and jig selections, and some of the tips. Make sure you take all the information out tonight, okay? If you have already done that, who's done it, by the way? Nighttime jigging. Good. Trawling? Yep, good. Yeah, so if you haven't done that, then hopefully I can cover most of the basic and essential stuff tonight. So, why nighttime jigging? At nighttime, when the sun goes down, plankton, bait fish, they all come up to the surface. It's called something like a diel vertical movements. So the bait, plankton, they actually go up and down in 24-hour cycle. They go deeper during the day because they want to hide from the predators. At night time, they come up to the surface and start feeding. So the tuna actually follow the bait at night. That's why nighttime, you're only talking about from the surface down to 100 meter. That's a range you're going to be dropping the jig down to. So that's why it's very effective, and it can be very productive at night. Let's go into the gear. Now, so we're not talking about kingfish, right? So our recommendation is always have the heaviest possible gear that you can afford, okay? A lot of people went to Waihau last year using kingfish, just jigging rod. Worked fine for 20 kilo, 30 kilo fish. A lot of people lost the fish as well, okay? If you're fighting 100 kilo fish, you never expect a 100 kilo kingfish, right? So that's a different beast. So the gear, starting from rod, you want to have at least PE8, if not PE10. that sort of capable rod. I'm from Oceans Legacy, so I want to show our rods. That's one of the rods called a Elementus Ahi-Spec rod PE10. So it's got a massive power for fighting bluefin, yellowfin, those monsters, 100 kilo plus. It's got a bit of a longer bat section, 6'1". So that'll give you more sort of, flexibility in you can work the jig better. And also because of the lengths, you can maneuver the line around the boat much, much easier, especially with the big tuna. It's a nice and soft tap. So if you want to, you can trawl hardwoody lures as well, okay? And because it's a soft tap, once you hook the fish, you can keep the fish on the hook better. Yeah, it's got a spiral guide, all the Fuji components in gimbal butt, and we've got nice tuna logo on this one. So it's made for tuna jigging. And we've got PE10 and a PE8. PE8 is more versatile, which is this. If you want to use it for bluefin, yellowfin, kingfish, or even puka, deep drop, then a PE8 is going to be more versatile, okay? And you can still catch bluefin. But if you have an experience like me, or you, last year, lost a big fish, then you want to go for PE10. That's the heaviest gear. So that's why we've got two sizes. Surprisingly, $599. That's the retail price. So it's not too expensive either. Our jigging rod, the Kingi jigging rod, is $800, just as a comparison. So that's the price range we normally sell the jigging rods for. But we made this tuna jigging rods really, really cheap. So the pricing wise, it's still very affordable. And then the blank is made for tuna jigging.
What's the, you said PE8, PE10, what's the relative breaking strength?
Yeah, when I say PE8, PE10, I'm talking about the diameter of the line. So, a lot of people still get confused, but PE rating is all about diameter, how thin the line is. The breaking strain varies from the brand to brand. So if you grab a two PE8 from two different brands, they have two different breaking strains. But we are talking about roughly 100 pounds to 130 pounds, that sort of range. So when you go spool your reel, make sure that you understand both PE rating and the breaking strain.
What's that fish that you lost? What drag settings were you using on that reel?
20 kilo full sunset. But I don't have a power gear. I'll show you one of the tips. If you are taking too much time mucking around and they wake up and make a big run, because the first 15 minutes I thought that was super light, 50 kilo fish. So yeah, but we lost the opportunity to get it. So yeah, so that's a rod, and we've got our reels. Ideally leave a drag so you can control the drag while you're fighting. Something like this, Talika 20 2-speed. It's got a big capacity, so 430, 100 pound. Yeah, so anything you can spool 400 meter plus of PE8, that's a good capacity. 2-speed, lever drag, and ideally more kind of jigging sort of type of handle as well. Okay, you can upgrade it. And the harness lugs are very, very big bonus. You don't have to, but at least you have 2-speed, and that'll give you a much, much nicer reading actions power, and the harness lugs helps stabilize it. So that's a reel. And jig, we recommend anything like these ones. So they are both originally designed for slow pitch. So you're letting these jigs flutter down, and then you get a hat on the way down. That's the idea of slow pitch jigging. But this one is called a hybrid contact. Why is it called a hybrid? Because you can actually mechanical jig on the way up as well. So you can work both ways, up and down. Same as this. You can work way up, but because it's a center weighted, if you let it flutters down. All right? So you're literally doubling, if not, tripling the chance of catching more fish or bigger fish. I'm going to touch on what the slow pitch jigging is and why it's so effective. But you want to look for something that does both, if not more slow pitch, 100% slow pitch jigs. Because you normally mark the fish before you drop the jig. So once you mark the fish, you want to drop the jig down to where the fish is, and then you start working the jig. And this type of slow flutter jigs, they actually have more hang time. You can actually stay in the range longer.
You would mark fish at say 80 metres.
Yes.
And obviously we're still guessing at this stage how far 80 metres down, I don't know if there's line counters or not, but how far down below the 80 metres would you go until you would stop?
10 metres.
Okay.
10, 15 metres.
Okay, so you're not going too far below that.
Yeah.
And is there any, is it 10 metres of colour, or is there any way that you can take the best out of
Yeah,
it?
it says line 100 pound multicolour. Multicolour means that every single colour of your line is normally 10 metre. So you can count the number of colours. Yeah, so it's important to have some sort of a line counter system. Normally the multicolour does the job. So the braid is P8, 100 pound, and for the leader, tuna actually swallow the jig quite often and chew the line. So we recommend 150 pound or plus, something like this. Fluorocarbon. Do you guys know the difference between mono and the fluorocarbon? So fluorocarbon is normally less stretchy and less visible to the fish. So we recommend fluorocarbon for anything below the water, under the water. Any type of jigging or any type of fishing that goes under the water. So literally except the stick baiting. Mono for stick baiting, jigging for fluorocarbon. And then the harness gimbal. That can be must. We've got different ways of rigging jigs with the hooks. So that's one of the examples, top and bottom. Heavy duty hooks. We talked about braid and the leader. We do PR knot to the leader and probably about 4 metre, 5 metre length of leader. And the leader goes to the swivel, heavy duty swivel, and swivel to the split ring. And this split ring holds the hook and the jig like that, and the bottom hook. We do top and bottom if you are trying to get a hat on the way down, because the jig goes sideways and flutters down.
You tie straight to the top of your assist hook.
This one, right?
The split ring, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we were told, most of us were told before. That's all the way. When you're doing mechanical jigging, this works fine, because the hook doesn't have to move as much, okay? When you're doing mechanical jigging, you're working the jig like this. So the hook can stay with the jig.
You're trusting the whole fish through a split ring.
Yeah, that's right. So that's why you need to have a very, very heavy duty split rings. These days, most of the well-known brand split rings are very, very strong. So we do this all the time.
I've seen cheap ones come apart.
Oh yeah, so don't buy cheap ones.
Is the swivel a must?
Recommended, yeah, because tuna sort of circle run, right?
Sort of thing.
Yeah, so it helps untwisting the line. So
Unlike speed jigging where you're trying to get like immediate reaction, this is like the opposite. You're pretty much letting the lure do all its work.
yeah, so I'm going to touch on the techniques, but I know you're right. Yeah, you don't have to do this heavy mechanical jigging, style. Again, we're not talking about kingfish, okay? It's a different species. So when we say jigging, we touched on different styles of jigging, 7 different styles of jigging, right? So mechanical jigging, deep water jigging, bluefin jigging, micro jigging, super light jigging, shore jigging, and slow pitch jigging. So if you break the jigging into more categories, and we do have 7 different styles of jigging. And the kingi jigging is just one of them. So when you think jigging is this, no, you've got 6 others. And all 6 others, they don't do this.
They
Right?
don't do that.
They don't. Only for kingfish. Yeah. You do this action, but slowly, gently.
I noticed your lures that you've got there, Kaz, have they got any lumo on them? Because fish are attracted to lumo. You use quite a bit of lumo for trout fishing at night, and it triggers fish to bite. What about
Yeah.
tuna?
We still have to test non-lumo jigs and see the true comparison, but most of the time we used lumo jigs. And all these jigs, they are full body glow. They glow really, really bright at night.
So do you charge them with a light before you put them in the water, or what?
Good question. You can. So there's a difference between UV and the glow. Glow means they glow themselves. Okay? If you turn the lights off, they glow. If it's UV, that means you need a UV light. Right? At night time, you can use a UV torch to even further brighten this, but you don't have to. It's still glow. Okay? So remember that, glow and the UV.
So it's a glow is what you put there.
Yeah, they all glow and they're all UV coated as well. All our jigs are UV coated, and most of them are full body glow like that. And we've got some other jigs over there, and they are partly glow. Here's another way of rigging it. If you don't like top and bottom like that, because it can be messy, you catch more fish, but the downside of that is that you often get a foul hook If you hook the fish on the bottom and the leader is on the top, right? And this hook goes on the side, and you get more drag. So if you're fighting 100 kilo plus fish, then you don't want this. So whether if you want to take more hookup rate, and this is good. If you don't, then here's another part. Forget about kingfish. Use the bottom hook, not the top hook. Top hook for kingfish, bottom hook for bluefin. If you want a single hook, then use bottom hook. 2 reasons. Most of the jigs kind of flutters down or dart like this. This particular jig darts like a squid. If they are feeding on squid, it's really, really deadly. But because this goes from the bottom fast, right? So you want to have the hook on the bottom. You're not working the jig like a kingy jigging, so you don't have to have the hook on the top. And the second reason is more important. Your leader is on this side, right? And like I said, that the tuna can swallow the jig and they chew the leader. So if your leader is further away from the hook, you have best chance of getting the leader chewed.
So there's 2 options here. So which one do you put? What's your preference?
I go with this because I've caught a few fish already. So one of these 2.
Single, would you?
Well, single is fine, yeah. But if you want to get more hookup and more sort of solid hookup, then you can go, yeah, double like this. Just a double single assist.
Are you doing something like special with the Kevlar rope there? Because it kind of looks like it's plaited or knotted.
Yeah, so this hook has got a 16 times braided Kevlar. So it's super, super stiff, but it's very, very strong. So any toothy critters, you can still use these hooks. Yeah. A lot of people
So do they come pre-made like that?
No, actually, we custom rigged like this for bluefin. Those jigs normally come with twin assist hooks like that. Much, much lighter hooks for slow pitch, because that's what they were designed for. I don't know if you guys remember the video we posted last year. There's 270 gram pink lure, one of the charter boats, pelagic. They caught 14, 15 bluefin on this single jig just one night. And they actually used standard hooks. Yeah. So they can still survive through the day, even after 14, 15 fish, but this is more guaranteed. This is more secure. Yeah, heavy duty. So I wouldn't go with that one. I always upgrade to those heavy duty hooks.
Your leader to your braid, you recommend PR knot or can you have a swivel there?
No, we do PR knot. Yeah.
Don't swivel, no good.
Yeah, no, don't swivel because then you have to tie the braid to the swivel, right? It can be very slippery. So it's better to have the proper PR knot. Yeah, FG is okay, but the PR is stronger. Invest in those PR bobbins.
What's the difference between those 2 jigs you held up? You said one darts like a squid, what's the longer one do?
Okay, so this long one called a deep contact. So that's very, very bottom weighted. So it darts more kind of long darting action like that. Okay? And you can obviously mechanical jig on the way up. This one is called a long contact. Again, you can mechanical jig, but because it's a center weighted, when it goes down, it flutters down, right? This is the most versatile jig we've seen on the market. This catches snapper, kingfish, anything up to the bluefin. So very, very versatile. And the size-wise, we've got from 6 gram all the way up to 3 kilo. So a massive range of jigs. Color-wise, 8, yeah. Well, we don't really use 3 kilo, just for the marketing. But yeah, color-wise, we've got 8 different colors on each size. Did I touch on the size for the bluefin? The lightest jig we've seen is 150 gram. The heaviest one we've seen is just over 400 gram. The sweetest spot is 200 gram to 300 gram. And because you're only dropping the jig down to 100 meter, so you don't have to have heavy jigs. Obviously, you have to think about the condition as well. So sometimes you go 400 gram, maybe 500 gram. But normally if you have one of these jigs between 200 gram and 300 gram, and that'll be fine.
What's up with the eyes twisting?
So it's called an acid wrap or a spiral guide. So see the guide is actually twisting. It starts above the blank and it goes underneath the blank. So that's 2 things. One is that the line goes under the blank. So when you're fighting the fish goes sideways, but the line stays down below, straight down, okay? Guides are above the blank and sometimes, you know, the rod gets twisted, yeah, as the fish goes sideways. Also, when you're working the jig, lifting, dropping, the line could go over the rod and get caught on those guys. But if the guys are below the blank, it slips off easily. So 2 benefits of that. Okay, so the action wise, so once you mark the fish, say at 80 meter, and you drop the jig down to 80 meter or around there, if you go 85, 90 meter, if that's your starting point, and then you go slow mechanical jigging, yeah? Like this. So the jig is literally going like this, yeah? It doesn't have to go this fast, okay? Slow mechanical jigging. And then once you pass the mark, say you lift it up to maybe, you know, 10 meter above the mark, you literally drop the jig down like this, yeah? Lift, and slowly drop the jig down.
So like working 15 metres above and 15 metres below.
Yeah, somewhere there, yeah. And then what you can do is that you can also lift and a half wind and drop the rod, and the lift, half wind, drop the rod. And what you're doing is that when you're lifting the rod, jig goes up. When you're actually dropping the rod, following the slack line, that's when the jig is fluttering down. And if you half wind each time, you're actually searching more water column each time.
And you haven't found cubing along with the jigging? Have you don't use pilchards or skippy?
Like chumming bait. Some people said that would help, but last year when we were there, we went 3 times. We couldn't tell if the chumming was helping or not, because we still caught a fish without chumming. It's something that we need to do more of and understand better, I guess. But you know, some days we don't have to.
Was last year the first time they were caught on jigs?
Yeah, in New Zealand I think so. Some people caught them on a jig, you know, a few years back as well. Some people did a daytime trawling. Once you hook 1 or 2, then you drop the jig at the same time, that sort of thing. Yeah, but I think nighttime jigging really took off last year. And we've been talking to a lot of other anglers who's got more experience in the bluefin jigging in New Zealand, overseas, you know, Japan and the US, those sort of countries. In the US particularly, they are big in nighttime jigging. Southern California, that area, yeah, they catch heaps.
Kez, I'm pretty new to the thing about jigging for bluefin. Do you mark fish during the day that are down deep and go back there in the evening to fish? And from your experience, what have you found is the best time of the night? Do they come close to the surface the later it gets in the evening?
Well, dusk and you know, early morning seems to be better, but often you catch all through the night as well. And your earlier point, one day we actually started trawling in the afternoon, about 3 o'clock, and then we marked the fish, marked the bait before the sunset, and after the sunset we literally went back to where we marked the fish, marked the bait. And so you've got a bit of idea if you can get to the Waihau or whatever earlier during the day and do the trawling anyway and see what the sea is like, gives you a bit of idea of what it's like. And then after the sunset, then you can go there. And obviously, you know, you should be in the community talking to other anglers or listening to other anglers, making sure that you get as much intel as possible, right? So you're maximizing your effort, really. You guys understand the difference between mechanical jigging and slow pitch jigging? No? So the concept is very simple, right? Mechanical jigging is fleeing bait. You're working the jig way up. Slow pitch jigging is wounded bait. So you're letting the jig flutter down. Yeah.
Yeah. So you just wind up like this, like a real slow mechanical up 20 meters, 30 meters.
Yeah.
And then just let it flutter down. Like, how do you let it flutter down?
So so I touched on 2 techniques. One is slow mechanical jigging, right?
Yep.
And if you want to do a slow pitch, then lift, half wind, and follow the slack line. And lift, half wind, follow the slack line. When you're lifting that, you're not working the jig in the slow pitch. You're literally getting the jig to the position where they start falling down, right? So you go very slow, because some of the jigs like that, if you're trying to lift too fast, forget about mechanical jigging for kingfish, okay? Yeah, I keep saying this, but that's important. For slow pitch, especially jig like this, very fat, center weighted, if you're trying to lift too fast and just wobbles too much, it makes a very, very weird actions. So we don't recommend that. The more true slow pitch jigs you use, the more gentle your action will be. So slow lift, and then you have to follow the slack line very slowly. Okay? Don't drop the rod too fast. Just follow the slack line. You're still keeping the slack line, but you're following the line. So when you get a hit, because you get a hit on the fall, you see, you can strike it straight away. If you drop the rod too fast, and then you're making too much slack line, even if you try to strike it, you may be just pulling the line, not a fish. So
You want to stay in control of it.
yes, yeah, that's a controlled action. Yeah.
What's your technique for when you're dropping the jig initially from the start?
Good point.
You're thumbing down and say you might get hit on the way down. What's your protocols there?
So when you mark the fish, you want to get the jig down to the fish very, very fast. So one of the techniques you can do with these flutter jigs is to apply a little bit of pressure on the line. As the jig goes down, if you're actually touching just a little pressure on the line, and that will keep the jig more upright. Okay? If you're making it free fall, then this flutters down, or this actually darts. Okay? But if you're applying a little bit of pressure, then it goes more upright and goes down faster. Any other questions on the techniques? You have to play with it. You have to go on the water and give it a try. But just remember, you are above the water, you're making the puppet dance, really. Above the water, you're actually composing it, and below the water, this is working like a wounded bait. So remember that. Both way is important, right? Up and down. Few tips. Again, forget about kingy jigging. Okay? You got the message now? Okay? So the gear is different, techniques are all different. Okay? Target species are different. So it's not kingfish, we're talking about bluefin. Mark the bait tuna during the day. That'll give you more idea of where you should go at night. First 15 minutes, you think that's small fish, but if you're mucking around and they'll make a big run, and all of a sudden, oh shit, that's a big fish. And then you're gonna be in trouble, like I did. So, last bit of advice, when the sun goes down, you literally lose the coordination, okay? You don't know, it's a pitch dark, and you don't know which way the swell is coming. You'll be like this. And one night I got really, really sick. So if you know those tablets or patches, then do that, okay? It's quite a very experience. And yeah, the safety overall is very important. So life jackets and PLV, the seasickness tablets, that kind of stuff is really important, okay? Yeah, so I didn't mention that, but because of those dire vertical movements, when the bait fish actually comes up, you know what happens on your screen? As soon as the sun goes down, you see the big, thick layer of bait literally comes up, boom, 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 like this. And then you see a thick layer on top of the deep water, on the 100 meter down. So that's where you start marking tuna. Pretty good eye at night time. And that's it for the seminar. I hope you learned something new. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. Now, get out there and good luck for the season.
We have a lot more fishing tutorials on this channel. So if you want to learn more techniques from Dave and Kaz, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you.